Being a teenager has never been easy, right? There are big emotions, hopefully big questions, and that constant feeling of trying to figure out just who are you?
The truth is, teens today aren't that different from when we grew up and we heard it when our parents grew up. But the world around them is definitely different and it's a lot louder.
A lot louder. So today we're talking about parenting teenagers with love, perspective, and patience, supporting them without rushing to label or define them before they've had time to grow.
Because strong feelings don't mean something's wrong, but it just means that your teen is a human.
Exactly. Because that's, if you think about it, that's all we do is we experience, and it's our first time for everything when we're teens, and it's very big, bigger than life.
Exactly.
It's a beautiful chaos, this roller coaster ride. The ups, the downs are spinning all around inside. It's a beautiful chaos. Sometimes I love, sometimes I hate. Have to pause, renegotiate, but with gratitude I appreciate this beautiful chaos.
Welcome to Beautiful Chaos. I'm Tammy,
And I'm Staci Miller.
and this is season 2, episode 7.
Woo!
Can you believe it's 7 already?
No, well,
my
no. And
gosh.
unfortunately, I haven't been here very much. So I miss listening to everybody or talking to everybody. And so I'm back. And so we're gonna get it going today with the twosome today.
Yes, we love the twosome. I love when you're here. It's so
Thanks.
much more fun. So our subject today is raising teens in a loud world. So I think that we should start with, like, you said something in the very beginning about how in our hook about how even our parents. It seems like every decade, if you think about it, back in the 50s,
Yeah.
it was rock and roll was bad, and Elvis, ooh, he was shaking his
Well,
hips.
we hated how our parents would say to us, like, being a teenager today is not that much different than when I was a teenager and I know what you're getting into. And it's like, we thought for sure we knew.
Yeah.
There's no way our
There's-
parents know
yeah.
what we're getting into, what's really going on. But it really does just cycle through. And we've all seen that by raising our own teenagers now.
Right. And so I think that we need to focus on the things that, and we need to remind ourselves of what we went through as kids.
Yeah.
So I'm going to honestly say I did not know who I truly was till my late 20s, maybe 29, 30.
Sure.
Like I had a much fuller grasp on who I was, but I am always growing and shifting. Do you find that to be true?
Oh yeah, I think your 20s is your late teens is when you know absolutely everything.
But no, nothing.
And then your 20s is when you realize you didn't know anything and you make all your mistakes. Like 20s, I always say your 20s are really messy.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of beautiful things can happen in your 20s, but for the most part, if you bulk it together, the 20s are kind of messy. And then your 30s is when you really settle into like who you are. And
You're
then it
comfortable.
just gets better
Yeah.
and better after that.
Yeah, every decade you get more comfortable with who you are, and I think you're less fearful to just be
yourself.
Be yourself.
Yeah. Be confident.
Like at 60, I'm like, I'm getting to the point where it's like, okay, I went out in sweats the other day. Oh my gosh, I had sweatpants on, and
Just wait, it won't be much longer and you'll lose your filter.
oh yeah, that's already, you know
lose
me.
it after 9 p.m. But I'm talking about losing it 24/7.
It's coming. So we've all along, every teenager throughout history has struggled with identity confusion just because they don't know who they are,
Right.
or who they want to be.
Right.
You're figuring it out, right?
Well, and you start off in kindergarten with some adult getting in your face and saying, "What do you want to be when you grow up? What do you
Yeah.
want to be when you grow up?"
Yeah.
And it's hard because you come up with an answer, or what's your favorite color? I remember thinking I had to commit to that for the rest of my life. And I never felt like I could change that because once I picked it one day it was out of pressure of the people in the classroom, I felt like I had to stick with that for the rest of my life. But I think that kids also feel that way about what do you want to be when you grow up? Because they start saying, "Well, I want to be a teacher, I want to be a doctor." And then they try and mold their identity around whatever that conversation has been their whole life instead of, really like exploring your options and figuring out really who you are.
Yeah, because that might not be the thing for you. The other thing is like we talked about also in the opening was big emotions. Like when you're a teenager, that though that first kiss
Yeah.
is like, oh,
Big emotion.
big emotion. And your first love, you think you will never love anyone like you love this person, and you just want to spend all your time with them. And guess what? I've been engaged 4 times and married 3, and I was in love multiple times before that.
Well, I think you can have big emotions over a lot of other things too, because I
You
remember being in high school and having my first job. I had really big emotions about my expectations of other people. Because if I was going to be 14, 15 and do the job as expected, and there was 20, 30-year-olds there that were not doing the job as expected, I had really high expectations for them.
Yeah.
And so my first boss will always tell you I was really feisty in high school, because I got really feisty at work a few times about, this didn't get done, and why didn't this get done? And the expectation on me is these things get done, and
Why
so
is it
and
not
I
on
would get
them?
Very passionate, because it's really big emotions, and so we have big emotions about what goes on at school, what goes on with our friends. If you're going to be friends with this person, not be friends with that person. I think everything is really revolves around really big emotions.
Right. And then we all go through the experimentation with style, haircuts. And I think it really has to do with whether you want to fit in or if you want to stand out, because I feel like that's the 2 groups of where you are as a teen. And when you're trying to fit in, then you try to become whoever you look up to. If you think they're the coolest kids and you want to be like the cool kids or whatever, or you might be the theater kid, like, or you're trying to
might
fit
show
in
your emotions in your clothes and your
right
hair, and that's okay too.
Right. And piercings and all the things. So but that's been going on for ages, like in just different aspects. Like tattoos became a big thing, where in my day tattoos were like for sailors and people in the military.
And I think even when my kids were really young, I remember always telling them, you're not going to get a tattoo until you're at least 18, and it's got to be something that really means something. And then 16, mom signing the form. It meant something. It was still really important.
Well, yeah, it meant something. And you made them think about it. That's the thing. You didn't just say, change your mind at 16. I'm sure you made them really think about what they wanted and what the meaning was.
So far,
behind that.
No regrets.
No regrets.
Yeah.
Cross fingers. So teenagers have always searched for identity. The questions haven't changed. Only the noise around them has. And so that's big time on, I think, social media 24/7. There's so much more pressure. Like, look at bullying.
Bullying has definitely changed, and I think online bullying is actually, I have a couple of things to say about that. I think online bullying is awful and terrible, and it's gotten so much worse. However, I will say that at least with girls, I've noticed a lot of online support with each other. Girls have gotten really good about, that's a picture of my best friend. She's the prettiest girl I've ever seen. And they'll comment right away on their friends' posts and talk about how pretty they are, or how they're so proud to be their friend. And so girls have really learned to, we use phrases like give them their flowers or fix their crowns. And I think girls have gotten really, really good about that. And that was great to watch my daughter have really great girl friendships through high school, and how supportive. She definitely had her problems. There was other, issues with cliques and things like that. But for the most part, the girls that she even is friends with to this day are still the ones that are going to be the most supportive and hurry and jump online and talk about how I'm so proud to be your best friend and you're so pretty. And
and that's awesome. That's super awesome. So through social media, though, let's talk about comparison, because we've talked about comparison on every level. Like you should only compare yourself to yourself. There's a difference between a mentor and comparing yourself and like wanting to be just like that person.
Sure.
Like, I had a best friend in high school that I wanted to, I just wanted to dress classy like she did, and I wanted to hold myself in a certain way because she did, and I respected her, and so I felt like she mentored me. She took me under her little wing, and that was really cool. But I didn't look at her and go, well, I need to be just like her, and I need to buy identical jackets and identical clothes. Like, I have to have my hair the same.
There's healthy boundaries. So I think one thing that's going to remain consistent throughout this entire podcast is to make sure that you're always having really good communication with your kids.
Yes.
I think one thing that was missed in my generation, probably your generation, I'm not sure, but is we come from more of a generation where kids were kind of an accessory.
They were to be seen,
to seen and not
hurt.
Yeah. And so there wasn't really anybody that was acknowledging our big emotions.
Right.
There wasn't anybody that we could go to and talk to and say, well, I want to dye my hair purple because I'm having these big feelings, or I want to dye my hair purple because I think it looks really cool. I saw it in this cool music video. Like there can be a lot of different reasons that that's coming across, but I think the communication is going to remain really consistent throughout here, that we have to be talking to our kids, and the big emotion thing is really important. That was actually a hard lesson for me to learn, is that sometimes you have to remember that your kids are maybe having these emotions for the first time.
Yeah.
Or they're maybe, are we properly letting them express what they're feeling before we're quick to say, no, that's not going to happen. No, we can't do that today. Let them really talk things out first. And that lesson took me a embarrassingly long time to learn. But again, I came from a generation of, you get what you get and that's it. And then don't throw a fit, right?
Yeah.
So I think when kids are trying to express themselves, it's important to know where that's coming from. You were talking about comparing yourself to somebody that you looked up to. Kids today are comparing themselves to celebrities, the person across the street, the person across the globe, the person across the continent.
Yeah.
Like they've got so much influence coming from every angle that, we don't know where they're getting all of their influence from.
Right.
But it's okay to let kids express themselves and try new things, but just make sure that you're talking to them about, like, where is this coming from?
Right.
Why are you wanting to do this big change?
Yeah. And I think it's important to reinforce with them their morals and principles that they've been raised on, like whatever that is in your family, that you just encourage that and let them know that they are loved because they are them.
Yeah,
it is not, it doesn't matter what color their hair is. It doesn't matter if they go get a crazy tattoo, as long as you sign for it. It doesn't matter if they get something pierced, because you know what? If they don't like it 10 years from now, it'll grow back.
Yeah. Express yourself however you want to.
Express yourself however you want to. And I do feel like I like some of the ways that we're addressing kids' emotions. I think that it's very important to talk with them and let them and help them through their emotions, help them to process their emotions. But I think that it's also really good to let them know that what they're feeling is perfectly normal, no matter what they're feeling. Because, I mean, my first love was my best friend, Wendy. Like, I was 11, and I just loved Wendy. It was the first real best friend, because we always lived too far off from anybody, and I just didn't have that many friends, and she was my first real friend that I spent every day with. And you just have this so much love, which could have been easily confused, but it wasn't, because it was, I met other people along the way and realized, oh, wow, I really loved her, but then I love this person. Gosh, my heart's not just tied to one friend. I can now have 10 friends or whatever it is. So I think it's just really important to just encourage your kids to love and know that you love them no matter what.
Right.
So back in our day, it used to say, and I know my mom has said that, well, she couldn't talk to me about whatever it was I was going through, but you'll understand later when you get older.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Did you hear that?
That's a hard one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one, that doesn't help you in the moment at all. And I always struggle with giving people advice, younger people, older. It doesn't matter, like, age-wise. I don't like putting an age on thing necessarily, but when somebody is coming to me and they're experiencing something they've never experienced before, but I have, it's hard to, you really want to say, like, here's how this is going to go. You're going to go through this, and then you're going to go through this, but they're not going to go through all
hear
those
it.
things if they listen to you, right?
Right.
And so they just have to get out on the other side, hopefully as unscathed as you may have gotten out on the other side. But even with friends, I think that the showing them that you love them and care about them is the most important thing, because as we're saying with our kids, when you're just unconditionally loving your kids, maybe your friends too, and I mean, sometimes, don't let that get dangerous. We may have to have conditions on it at some point, but when your kids know that they're safe at home, no matter what they tell you, no matter
Right.
what they're going through, then they're more likely to keep coming to you to have these conversations. But another thing I really like is, we're quick to, well, I think now people have become quick to remember that this is their first time having these big emotions, their first time
Right.
going through this thing. And so we're trying to help them. But it's also okay to remind your kids that this is your first time being an adult. This is your first time as a mom going through whatever you're going through.
Right.
And so you are really learning things together. So maybe not saying to your kids, well, when I was your age, we walked uphill, both ways in the snow
with no shoes.
Right. Because no one's buying that story anyway. But to say, hey, when I was a kid, I had really big feelings about this same situation. And here's how I went through it. And here's how I got out on the other side. And that helps them to see you as a more relatable human being and not as like a parent they're always having on a pedestal. And then when they continue to have more experiences in their life that they need somebody to go to, they'd be like, my mom's been through this. I can go to her and I can talk to her about this. And hopefully you can continue to have that relationship where your kids want to come to you for stuff.
Yeah. Sometimes I had relationship with my kids that would tell me too much stuff.
Well.
As they were an adult. Okay, you're an adult now. I don't need to know it all.
Yeah, I don't want to know everything.
Can we shut the door on that? Because I don't want to know. Yeah. But I think that the downfall of how things are framed nowadays is they think that the feelings define you.
Right.
And they don't. Your feelings are just feelings. They don't. You're not your feelings, but we all have feelings, and you can address those feelings.
Right.
But your brain, you get to decide how you're going to live or how you're going to navigate through any particular situation. And nothing is permanent. And I feel like, gosh, I dyed my hair. Oh, I don't know. I've been auburn and blonde and now gray, and I think I was dark one time. I don't know, but you change a lot. You change careers a lot. There's nothing in life that I feel like is super permanent, I guess, other than just your morals, principles, values, and your drive or those things, right?
Right, absolutely.
So your feelings are real, but they don't have to be immediate. That's not what defines you as a person.
Right. I think it just gets back to the whole, emotions can be really big. So sometimes when they feel really big, it can feel like that's the end. It can feel like that's very definitive.
Yeah.
And so helping them kind of work through those to know that there's a different haircut on the other side, or there's a
different boy on the other side. This one broke your heart,
a different
but
English
it's
teacher,
okay.
a different major in college. There's all, so many different ways that we could take that conversation.
Coaches, like that's, we were all the kids and the grandkids are even involved in, and I'm like, you know what? Let this be a lesson to you for life. You loved the first coach, and then the second coach came in, and you just didn't get along with the second coach, and you're going to quit. No, you're not going to quit. You're going to stick with it, and you're going to learn how to deal with that coach and listen to him and respect him, because one day you're going to have a job and you're going to work for a butthole, and you're going to have to do what you need to do to keep that job.
And if you like the sport or you like the job, you keep doing it because, at the end, it's your reputation, it's your convictions. And so you keep doing it and you come out with your, reputation on top.
Right. Right on. So, and we kind of touched on how, emotional things can be. And everybody as a parent, if you're listening, just think back to your first love and how strong that felt, or your first best friend you ever had, and how you just thought you couldn't live at different houses. You'd have to adopt them as a sibling because you just wanted to be with them all the time.
Build a compound, we're all going to live together.
That's right. But some of that feels so consuming, and just like that you can only focus on that thing. So, hey, look, you're still the same height, even though you're standing. So, roughly 70 to 80% of teens report confusion or stress about identity at some point during adolescence. This is normal. Oh, I want to talk about too. So when I was about 5 or 6, I would play dog. Like, I don't even know how long it went on. I was a dog pretty frequently, and I even ate dog food. Like, it was a thing. But never once did my mom say, okay, I see you as a dog. You're a dog now. And
Sure.
and that's just in my time frame. But she let me be playful and experiment with play,
Mm-hmm.
and didn't try to label me as that. So I think that another good thing would be to not label your kids, because what's your label?
Right. Yeah, that's a good thinker. Well, and I think when we talk about identity, there's so many different ways we could take this conversation without getting like
Too
political.
political.
The part
Yeah, we
that
don't want to get
wanna
political.
say is it even comes down to the whole what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, I want to be a
Yeah.
doctor. Well, as a parent, the worst thing that you can do is start introducing your 5-year-old as, oh, this is Ben, and Ben
He's
wants
a
to be a doctor
doctor.
when he grows up.
Yeah.
Isn't that great? Or, hey, doctor, Ben also wants to be a doctor when he grows up. Can he play with your stethoscope? Like,
Yeah.
if we
It's a lot of
constantly
pressure.
encourage that as being their identity. Oh, speaking of pressure, well, I don't know. You want to talk about my pet peeve?
Go ahead. Go
You
for it.
be careful. This is just a pet peeve.
It's getting
of mine,
real.
and everyone can think about this however they'd like, because we're all entitled to our own opinions.
Yes, we are.
However, I think that sometimes families can tend to put pressure on kids by giving them a specific name. Whether it's naming them after dad, grandpa, uncle, this person that passed away, this person that was my best friend, they're constantly being compared to somebody their whole life. I hated the fact that when I asked the origin of my name, my parents were like, well, I just like the name. And I felt like, oh, that wasn't enough. I wanted a bigger answer than that, because I thought it was really cool when people were like named after so-and-so and named after so-and-so. But I've seen, as I've gotten older and older, people who really struggle with their own identity because they're actually such and such junior, or they were named after mom's best friend from high school that passed away, and holds this weird like place in their world. When we're talking about identity, I think that falls into the same conversation. If you've done this, great. I wish you the best. I hope you're having really good open conversations about helping to your kids to find their own identity. But it's just a pet peeve of mine, because I just feel like it puts unnecessary pressure on people to fill shoes that was never theirs to fill.
Yeah. Oh, that's a very good point. I would have never have thought of that. Like, we named James after, well, James is after my dad, and then his middle name is after Grandpa K. But I always just encouraged him to be whoever he was going to be.
Right.
Like, even in his rapper years, I totally encouraged that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And supported. Yeah. I mean,
absolutely.
he's got music out there,
And I
King
think he
James.
has become well adjusted for
He
that. And I
has.
think part of it is Grandpa K's legacy, and also your dad didn't grow up right next door to him, and it wasn't somebody he was being compared to regularly by
Exactly.
people.
Yeah.
But you do see it, and
I do see it,
hopefully
yeah.
Get in the comments. You can tell me I'm wrong. But if you also have seen this, let us know kind of what you've experienced. But you also see a lot of people who are named after somebody, and they go by something completely different.
Yeah.
Right. Or
As their way to stand out and be different,
stand out
because
and
they
have
don't
their
want to.
own footprint.
Yeah, and that's a lot of pressure. Like, all of what we're talking about is a lot of pressure on a teen, and it's not our job as parents to pressure our kids.
Right.
Like, they have enough pressure on themselves.
We're trying to have them pick a college in their freshman and sophomore,
Yes.
pick their major,
Yeah.
apply for scholarships. It's tough. There's a lot going on, and
There is.
you communicate, make sure that they know where to go to ask questions, because so much is trying to define their identity in 110 different ways.
Yep. Well, and one thing I think that, something that I had to learn was, I have value just because I am.
Yeah.
I don't have to do anything to have value as a person.
Right.
Because I could just sit and read all day and I would still have value. Like, that's not, your value as a human doesn't have to be tied to anything. I learned that from a counselor.
We all should
Free counseling.
remember that. So a couple other statistics we want to talk
Yes.
about. So 40% of teens say that they feel pressure to label themselves very early in life, and I think we've touched upon that in a few different ways.
Right.
And so, help them change that verbiage. Give them affirmations to talk about every day. I'm valued, I am loved, things like that. Anxiety and depression rates among teens have doubled since the 2000s. We can blame a lot of that on social media.
100%.
Because that, our kids are definitely growing up in a completely different world than we did. And their kids are going to grow up in an AI world with AI robots, AI technology, AI, they're little kids that have learned how to say, hey, Alexa, hey, Siri, hey, whatever, and get what they want out of Alexa or Siri or whatever they have in their house. So their relationships to technology is going to be even vastly different than the generation that we're seeing right now.
Right.
However, so teens report showing strong parental support without pressure are showing lower anxiety, better emotional regulation, and higher long-term self-esteem.
So that's support, not pushing them to be something they're not. Children are meant to be, what did it say? Children are not meant to be molded. They're meant to be unfolded. Mm-hmm. So that our job is to love them, support them, to help them be the best version of themselves, which might look like, hey, don't forget to do some breathing exercises today.
And they're going to turn out vastly different than we did or than we thought they would. But, just like you said, it's not molding, it's unfolding. Our kids start showing their emotions at a couple weeks old, you know, and they start showing their personality, and that continues to go on and on and on. And, we can't force a personality change on somebody. And so it's just about helping them, like you said, be the version of themselves. I want to put a funny in here because, if we want to compare our generation again to the generation we have now. So I think we have been better about communicating with our kids and having constant open conversations, checking in. One thing I like to do with my kids every day when I pick them up from school, and this is even like when they were driving themselves home from school and teenagers, I would still say, what was your
favorite thing to do today?
Best part of the day.
Yeah.
Your least favorite part of the day. So like your high, low, and then I'd always throw in something else because when you start off with what'd you learn today, you always get nothing. So I would try an additional question of either like, who'd you play with at recess?
Yeah.
Who did you sit with at lunch? What did you guys talk about? Or what did you do in English class today? How far did you get in your book and reading class today? Yeah. Just to try and get a little bit more conversation out of them. But the high and low was always a really good conversation point because it would get them to actually pick something out. Yeah, but then you think about our generation, those of you that are old enough will remember this, but the government had to put a commercial on television every night at 10 p.m. that said, it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are? Because we were outside and we were out playing until the street lights came on.
Until it was dark,
or
after dark,
too hungry to be outside anymore, or we couldn't drink from the hose anymore, or whatever. Then we'd finally come inside. And there were enough people that did not know if their kids came home every night that the government thought it would be really important to put out a PSA. So we're definitely doing better as a people that don't have to have that PSA on anymore and that we do know where our kids are. I mean, now we have Life 360. Like we know where they are, who they're with, how fast they're going on the interstate, if they put their seatbelt on.
Oh my
gosh. We know too much information about our kids. But as long as we're using even that technology to have a healthy conversation about, where were you? Why were you here? Whatever, having healthy conversations. Like I still have my kids on all the Find Me apps, and they think I'm a stalker, but I only use it because if they're at work, I'm not going to call them. So if I check their location, they're at home, then I know I can call and hopefully they're going to pick up and have a conversation with their mom.
If not, your feelings would be hurt.
Exactly.
So kids that also have parental support with no pressure also have higher long-term self-esteem. Mm-hmm. I think that's really important, is just helping your kid to recognize their worth as a human. So,
and part of that also about them having a really strong self-esteem is, I was not a kid who enjoyed like cheer, even very many sports, but I let my kids try everything once until they found what was comfortable for them. Yeah. And I ended up with a cheer and dance girl, which was far out of my scope, but it made me kind of open up to a new world and learn how to do different things. And theater kids, and I think the theater really helped build a lot of confidence in my kids because they had to memorize lines, they had to memorize audition pieces, they had to get themselves out in front of people and learn how to really step out of your comfort zone and talk in front of people, and that was a big confidence builder. But letting your kids try everything until they find what they really enjoy, and then encouraging the thing that they enjoy and helping them, that really builds their confidence in that thing, but also then builds their confidence in who they are and gives them some identity. And so, and that could be anything. Your kid might be really into gaming, and that's okay. You have to figure out, what are you doing? How does that work? Why do you like it so much?
Yeah.
How can I help it be better for you? You know, like my kid, my son was really into solving a Rubik's Cube. And so I was always really encouraging about that. I tried to get him into a local competition. Unfortunately, that was really hard to find around here, but I just wanted to keep encouraging it because he was really, really good at it. So, you know, I'd videotape it, we'd put him online. We'd take a Rubik's Cube everywhere. He'd show off to like a waiter how quickly he could solve a Rubik's Cube. But whatever it is that they're into, keep encouraging those things and keep helping them flourish in what it is that they love and enjoy. And they're going to keep using that as a starting point to talk to you about what they're going through in life and making sure they're keeping you up to date, and we're having good, healthy communication.
Yep, communication is key. And also give yourself grace. I'm sure if you're worried about your parenting skills, then you're doing great as a parent.
Doing a great job.
Yeah, 100%. So we will see you on the next episode. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're just listening, you can be sure to download us so that you can get all the notifications of when our new episodes are released, which is every Monday morning.
Every Monday.
Okay, so everybody, stay empowered.